Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Arrowfire. Welcome back to another episode of Look Out and Shout. And this makes 5. Today we're getting the last member reviewed of Magic Square's Masterpiece Scale Combaticons with MS-07 Space Shuttle, their version of a G1 Blastoff. It's very large, isn't it? It's a very big box. We know why. It's coming with a lot of combiner accessories, which we won't cover too much in this video. It's very much for the combined form, and there will be a combined video coming out in the next couple of days. Box itself is nice. It's that same kind of dusty artwork that's on there. You've got a nice Blastoff there with his somewhat Cyclops-looking eye. That's going to come up in this video, along with the not so much design of the Space Shuttle, but you've got a nice silhouette picture on the back, which we have been getting. And of course, as it says, if you are 0 to 3 years old, you're going to be very sad. Tech specs as well. Inside the box comes the figure itself, along with its tail accessory, which is for the back of the robot mode that is detached for the purpose of transport, and along with his gun. Also with instructions and a collector's card. And you too can pick up your own copy of this figure from showzstore.com. I'll put a link in the description below, and if you'll be so kind, the next time you make your pre-order and or purchase, if you could use under support your favourite reviewer code at the top of the homepage, the code of FIRE1, FYRE1. Any points that you generate through your purchases are automatically shared that lead to reviews such as this. Thank you very much everybody for their ongoing support. I sound like an air stewardess on a flight. Okay, let's get on with the review, shall we? And there he is in his robot mode. He's standing very brown, but he stands very good. He stands very tall. The first impressions you get are nice proportions. The arms are pretty good. Even the big fins on the legs don't look massively out of place. A bit like a cone head in that sense. It does what it needs to do. And for a slender yet some kibble on it figure, I think it does as good a representation of a Masterpiece Blastoff as you can see. Not that we've had that many to choose from. I think it's better than the MMC version. The MMC version put me off. It looked far too slender. The arms in particular looked very narrow, as did the head. The Zeta version, which I've currently got in combined mode, whilst I had a very good jet mode or shuttle mode, the robot mode was very clunky. This does just enough to keep it as a slender robot, but obviously you can tell it's a space shuttle still. Okay, 2 problems straight away. The eye, and I'll get into that in a second. You'll see it, people have said it. The Cyclops eye, the faded 2 eyes. I know it's probably accurate. I get this. I think this is going to be a bit of a theme with this figure. It's very true to the representation of the cartoon. Not hyper-tuned to a fault, but very toon accurate. But there's a couple of glaring things, such as back here. I guess this is right. I'm told this is right. There's a dark brown centerpiece of the back where you have this kind of much more softer brown used elsewhere, and I don't like the two-tone. It just hits my eye wrong. I just can't. It looks almost prototype in that sense, and I'm told that's accurate, so I can't blame Magic Square for it, but I don't like it. And I don't think the Legends version was two-tone. I think they just had one version of brown the whole way around, and that would have worked fine here. But I do like how he looks, but with a couple of niggling issues. Let's get in for a closer look. So let's start off with this noggin, if I zoom in a bit. Now at first glance, can you see where his eyes are? No, I didn't think so. If you know where to look, fine, but it's not glaringly obvious because the eyes are the same colour as his nose and his mouthpiece. Now that's not completely unusual in Transformers, but when you see it on a matte figure with no real definition unless you look in really closely to see moulding or cutting of plastic and definitive differences, it's not overly obvious. You go for that hot pink visor on his forehead, which is not really much of anything. I don't really know why it's there or why they felt the need to make it so vibrantly pink. Maybe Magic Square could have toned it down, but I know they wanted to keep faithful to the cartoon. I do think, though, it just looks wrong. It looks like a character from He-Man more so than a character from Transformers when you just look at that Cyclops version. But look, it is what it is. I think other people have said it. It's too inaccurate, but I would like to get some kind of infill stickers or something just to shade in the eyes. Maybe a dark blue, something to give a bit of definition. But it is there. He comes with, if I zoom back out, his one and only gun. It's fine. It's a very shrunken down version of Bruticus, as I said in the unboxing video. One thing I did notice though, because the arms are slightly rounded or shaped, they're going to make up part of the nose cone. It doesn't take much for it to come untabbed and loose. It's only one small peg that's been the same peg throughout, and if I untab the fingers you can see it goes. Because You've got, again, this kind of split peg system with only one tab at the base of the rifle, which would go into the bottom peg only. It could go into the top, but you would have it on the bottom. And as such, it's very easy for it to come unloose. It's a minor annoyance, but it's something that I think will happen a lot. So you end up having to keep resetting it a bit, getting it in there, and it's fine. It wraps around, it pegs in, but one knock here and there will cause it to come a bit wonky, and then you're asking the fingers to keeping it in place. It's fine, it is what it is. Fairly good weight to the figure as well. I do like the denseness that's here, even though throughout Magic Square have not got in for the most die-casty sets, but it is pretty good nevertheless. So we'll show you side articulation. I'll get the gun out of the way before it falls out, and as a matter of fact I'll start with the fingers. So of course the thumb tucks in to hold the gun, so we'll fan it out, and it's the same finger spread to a point, quite nice there, and a cock of the wrist, pretty good. Can make a fist as well, individual moving fingers. Elbow bend, 90 degree only. Bicep rotation and elbow rotation, that's a bit of an interesting one. Shoulder articulation out to the side, pretty good, maybe a bit loose on the joint. Firmer friction, 360 degrees all the way around. We'll do the head whilst we're here. We can do that all the way sky high look, that's nice, I do like that. Can't really look down much, a little bit. Slight tiltage and a full 360 around. It's a bit stiff on my version, but he will do it, nothing to bump into. The typical ab crunch, very nice, very good. You can probably get just under 90 degrees of it, but it's still very welcome. Waist rotation on a softer ratchet, and then down to the hips. Now I did notice this just as a bit of a first glance. You've got a rounded side hip on that side and a square part on this. I'm going to assume that is for articulation in combined mode, rather than myself having a defective copy, but it's just something that caught my eye. But anyway, 90 degrees all the way out on a soft ratchet. And you've got this kind of rotating round leg hip as we've seen before. You can just see it coming out of the way. No hip skirts to move, which is pretty good. Quite a bit over 90 degrees of knee bend, that's nice as well. Bit of a double elbow, or double knee bend, which one of an elbow down there. And more of a toe tilt. Well, no, it is an ankle tilt, fairness to it. It does open up the bottom of the feet, but you get good posing there with the structure of the leg holding much the same. So overall, pretty good. It doesn't come with any additional parts. He comes with his gun as his main accessory, but no alternative faceplates or anything else. There is the tail fin that you would have seen on the back of the figure that you had to plug in, as for transport purposes they took it out, but otherwise he is what he is. Okay, on to some comparisons. Now I won't show you all of the Combaticons, we'll save that for the intro of the combined video if you like, which will come out following this video. I'll show you one for now. Here he is alongside Heavy Gunner, their version, Magic Square's version of Brawl, that maybe is still the best one of this set, but we'll talk about that more when the combined video is all done. Yeah, very in keeping. Blastoff does have a dull colour scheme just by design. I don't think he can really be blamed for it. It's brown and grey with the highlights of magenta thrown in. Not to say Brawl's colour scheme is that much more popping, but they really nailed it with the head sculpt for Brawl. But yeah, the set is going to look really cool side by side, as most people would say. Here he is alongside X-Transbot's Razor, their version of a G1 Bone Crusher. Interesting that Bone Crusher is that little bit taller, but I think I remember that from their Vortex as well from Magic Square. It was just that little bit shorter. And now we're getting an idea of how big this combiner is going to be, Bruticus is going to be. I'm a bit surprised that the individual limbs are that much smaller still. Nevertheless, it looks pretty good. Different companies, and this is carrying much more of a metallic scheme, where Magic Square is not really pushing the boundaries of high-end quality materials. Not to say it's a bad figure, but X-Transbots and Fans Toys may be adding a little bit more to it. There aren't many more comparisons to do for a robot mode of Blastoff, but I thought I'd show this because Soundwave did travel inside of the shuttle mode of Blastoff in, I want to get this right, Big Broadcast of 2006. I think it was the right episode. So I thought I'd show you him alongside Robot Paradise, Fans Toys version of their Acoustic Wave, their Soundwave. Yeah, I'd expect the leader bot categories to be much taller still, and they are, so that works for me. Different colour schemes again, Fans Toys going in for that more glossier element, where Magic Square is much more of a matte styling. Just a different term of approach, not necessarily bad. Okay, well let's get ready for this guy to blast off, shall we? And there he is in his alt mode. I'm not going to tell you I've done everything right. There's very much got to the point of, fuck it, that's good enough. The instructions made it look simpler than it was, and I started off pretty well, just kind of winging it, no pun intended, and just working my own way out. The legs were the harder part to do, and in the end I had to follow someone else's transformation videos. There's a chance of it being more panel heavy than it should be. It wasn't as bad as Swindle, but it was getting there. But I do really like how it looks. It's a very good size for the end of it. Same as how I felt with Vortex. It turned into a very large, very substantial helicopter. So they've really got the military aspect down. This was never a military vehicle. It was an exploration vehicle. Why they never made him a jet, I'll never know. Anyway, here we are. Again, I don't like that two-tone brown. I just really notice it more in this. The fact that his back half is this kind of, I don't know, almost a sand colour, and the midsection is, well, a different kind of colour, shall we say. But from looking at what I can find of G1 source material, this is correct. His faux back fin comes off, because that's what would be there, and of course that fin folds out from the centre of his leg, so he no longer has that. And in a second we'll show you where the gun plugs into, or you could probably work it out for yourself. So you're very substantial, very chunky, really got nice Space Shuttle vibe. The weight is good for what it is. It's very condensed. The underside is fine. Now he does have a landing gear that will come down. I think I've sunken that in there. Oh no, I can get it out. That's handy. It is fairly traditional, and you have these wheels at the back so he can stand a little bit more off the ground. That's fine. They don't roll, they're just there. But yeah, otherwise it's pretty good. You can see some bits that need to fan out fully that I just gave up with after a while. It wasn't so easy getting some of the back section in. Now in terms of weapon storage, that's all he can really do, put his gun into the centre bit. It's not that obvious, and it is a very snug connection, but there it is. Probably just lose the aesthetic, but otherwise you'd have a gun lying around. I'm not so wild on the pink choice, or the hot pink being used on the visor. I would have liked maybe a black to match Vortex perhaps, or something a bit different. The fact that it's a pink is very close to the purple it's on. So yeah, that's what I would have thought. But otherwise, it's very sizable. It is very cool. I can't say I'm disappointed by it, but it's just a bit of a more involved transformation to get there that will probably get easier the more times you do it. I think it's fair to say. Okay, on to some comparisons. Now again, as I say, I will do the full vehicle comparisons at the start of the Combiner video. Here he is alongside Earthrise Skylynx, which is in much more of a chug scale as it is Commander class. But it's good to have two space shuttles alongside one another. Not often you can do that. I imagine if you had the MMC version, Invictus, I think it was, then that would look a bit better still, and it should be. But I think this is pretty good. I do really like that Earthrise mould, and it does hold a fair bit of a candle to it. I think that's pretty cool. Here he is alongside Lemon Tree's Shockwave. I can't quite remember the name of it, but transforming into the Revenge. Yeah, not really much of a comparison. This is, of course, classed as masterpiece size, and you really get that sense of scale alongside the Magic Square version. Not much of a comparison, but I haven't got many things that you can draw direct comparisons to a Space Shuttle to. And alongside a typical masterpiece carbot with Takara's Red Alert. Not much of a comparison, but it really does show the size we are dealing with here. This guy is huge. And rightly so. Space Shuttles that carry Soundwave S transformers should be as well. So that is a bit more believable. They really have got the size of this right. What is my view on this Space Shuttle from the 1940s? It's a weird military vehicle, isn't it? Really large, isn't it? Really bloody huge. Cool. Really like it. Like it more than I thought I would. The alt mode is probably better than the robot mode, I would say. Okay, there's not an awful lot you can do with it. You can't exactly open section out. Not like, say, you could with Skylynx. But it's quite a good looking shuttle. The size is very much in its favour, even though I am not a fan of this two-tone brown. And yes, I understand that is part of its design of the G1 character. It looks weird. Why wouldn't it be one colour if it was a real world vehicle or otherwise? The robot mode is good. I am not a fan of that Cyclops head that I covered in the review of it. But I like what it does. At the same time, it's just a bit... I think it's his colour scheme. It just doesn't come across with a wow or a punch factor that Brawl seemed to do, and I feel that Brawl really sold the set very strong, very good from the beginning. And there have been other good ones. I'm a very big fan of Vortex, as I mentioned, but it's a bit like, okay, it's blast off in G1 colours. And what else? There's not a lot of bells and whistles here. He's got one gun that he holds well enough. I think the presence of weight and size is very much in this guy's favour. He doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. He doesn't have a rotator blade that, say, Vortex does. But yet I feel there's more fun to be had throwing this thing around like a jet, like it's flying, more so than what you can do with it in robot mode. There's not an awful lot else you can say. The transformation is okay, but the instructions do simplify it somewhat. And when you look at transformation videos, it's very much a transformation of two halves. Now in advance of doing this recording, I have transformed all of them now into their alt modes. He is one of the better ones. They do have the tendency to be panel heavy, almost all of them. And I've just done the Swindle one again. God, I hate that. But it's fine. It's very much going to be an arm. You can see for the size of this how this is going to fold into a very large Masterpiece combiner arm. As I say, I don't think the MMC version really nailed it for an MP scale blast off. And the only other one I've had has been the Zeta one, which is currently in arm mode at the moment. And in the metallic scheme, that is a good shuttle mode, to be fair. This is possibly a little better in terms of roundedness, but again, not massively wild on that hot pink visor, not massively wild on some of the colours. I think it just could have been a bit more, maybe akin to the colours used in the G1 toy. That's kind of what it needs to be, even if a brown Space Shuttle is just not an attractive colour. Is the price worth it? £100? Yeah, I think for the size, if nothing else. It's not got the die-cast feature, but there is still some weight here. It's definitely plastic, but it's good, dense plastic, if you know what I mean. I don't get the real frustration with it. The transformation could have been a little simpler, but broadly speaking, it wasn't terrible. And most of the parts tab in, and some parts around this frontal section did fight me somewhat getting these side panels in, to the point I was just done when it was done. I wasn't inclined to go back and do it. So the price is fine, the size is very good, and it's nice to get the set all done and together, which we'll see more of a comparison of all the figures in the combined video coming out shortly. Based on this, I give this guy 3.5 from the star badges. Nothing particularly wrong with it, and I say it's probably the best version of a Masterpiece blast-off if it was just for, say, the eye visor thing that, okay, I'm not necessarily going to hold Magic Square against it, but it's going to be on my shelf and I'm going to look at it. And I'm going to keep seeing this Cyclops eye staring me in the middle as I'm going to look at this two-tone brown. It's the things that hit you. And whilst it might be too inaccurate, it doesn't mean to say it looks good. And there we go. That is my review of Magic Square's MS-07 Space Shuttle, their version of a G1 blast-off. As I say, the combined video of Lord of War, their Bruticus, will come out in the next couple of days, with, of course, early access going up on Patreon first. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button, because I will see you on the next one.